Welcome to Theologeek and a new episode that I chose to call Versus Versus. It is about how splitting the text into verses affect our understanding of the text. Johan Karlemo has asked, I would like to see a video about how the numbering of Bible verses have affected the interpretation of the Bible. So let's talk a bit about splitting the text into verses and how it has affected us. First of all, it's important to understand that the Bible was never written verse by verse. It was written as a series. It was written as single documents, and eventually it got edited together. Like you took a collection of these documents and you called them the Bible. And eventually you took the different scriptures and you divided the scriptures into chapters. Now we are in the early Middle Ages. Also what happened was that in the 400s there was a new translation made from the Greek and Hebrew into Latin. It's called the Vulgate. It was made by Jerome, Hieronymus, and Jerome, his translation became widely popular and used in the Catholic Church, and it was used for more than 1,000 years before any new sort of real try to make a new translation from the original Hebrew and Greek was made. But in the early 1500s, several people wanted to make a new translation because the old Latin translation was simply getting... Well, the Latin was basically too old and too obscure for normal priests to even understand it anymore. They had to learn like historical Latin in order to interpret the Bible. So a man called Erasmus from Rotterdam, he started to make a translation, and when he did that, he didn't just want to update the Latin, but he wanted to go ad fontes, back to this original sources. So what he did was that he collected manuscripts in Greek, and then the oldest manuscripts that he could find in his local monastery library, and he did sort of a collection there and of these texts, and then he made his translation into Latin. And here's a page from that translation where you can see the original Greek that he used as a base text, and then his translation into Latin, and also the old Latin Vulgate. And as you see here, you have the verses numbered. And the reason for that was that when he made his translation, he wanted to make sure that priests could understand why he had translated the way he had. So what he did was that he published the Greek, his Latin text, the Old Latin text, and also notes on how he had done the translation. And in order for someone then to sort of that made it possible for people to understand why he had done his translation the way he had, and also what manuscripts he was actually using as base manuscripts for the translation. This is a page from that sort of translation that he made. And as you also see here is that later on, when Luther made his translation into German and later translations from the Reformation, when people made translations into the different languages in Europe, is that everyone sort of started using this numbering system and also adding the translation notes to the actual Bible page, so that you can sort of follow along reasoning amongst theologians if it was a reasonable translation, or why one had chosen to translate in a certain way. But it was never sort of meant for ordinary people to use it. It was strictly an academic tool. So we have been, I would argue, hurt as a church or as ordinary Bible readers by this. In the 1800s, the preachers started to preach over smaller and smaller sort of selections of the texts, parts of chapters instead of whole chapters, and certainly never whole books or like thematic preaching over a whole Bible book or something like that, which had been certainly a huge thing during the Middle Ages in Europe. But that has sort of become the norm, and today you can hear preaching and sermons based on basically just 3 or 4, 5 consecutive verses in the Bible. And I think that has actually hurt us, because we lose the bigger picture and we lose the sort of larger context of the text. I would love to sort of return to 2 Timothy in chapter 3 verses 16 and 17, where it says that every book in the scriptures is inspired by God. Not every word in the scriptures, but every book in the scriptures. And I think that we run the risk of coming up with very hurtful also interpretations when we simply read too small a text and try to sort of gather meaning out of too small a text, where we don't even get the larger idea that the author was trying to communicate in the beginning. Now, that's it for today. I want to thank you, my viewers. This has been a wonderful first week of this channel, so thank you, all of you. Thank you to Monica from G-Punkten Podcast, who did an interview with me very generously, and thank you for Johan, who asked this question, and thank you to all of you, my beautiful viewers. I hope that you also want to join in the conversation down below in the comment section. So, and I hope to see you again really soon. Now, take care and have a wonderful week.